Minglaba, good afternoon. I am Murli Chakravarti and I'm heading AgroCorp division in Myanmar, and I will be the moderator for this session. It's my pleasure on behalf of OTAM to extend a warm welcome to all the viewers across the globe for the World Pulses Day 2021 virtual conference. Our topic for this panel discussion today is moving up the value chain in Myanmar. Myanmar is the world's third largest producer of pulses, producing about 18 different kinds of pulses. And agriculture remains Myanmar's most important economic sector. More and more countries have started producing pulses and exporting it. With pulses being labeled now as the new superfood, it has generated a lot of interest. With the competition growing and importing countries having a wider choice, Myanmar agriculture sector is at a crucial juncture and will need to plan and strategize to boost the production, diversify and improve the industry's regional and global competitiveness. One of the key factors in this direction will be to strengthen the agricultural value chain. To discuss how Myanmar agriculture can derive enhanced value in the years to come and what it needs to do to get there, we have got a distinguished set of panelists. To start, it's Dr. A. Trintut, Director General, Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock and Irrigation. Uso Winmong, Consultant to Myanmar Pulses and Beans and Sesame Seeds Merchant Association. Dr. Chauvin, Director of Bright Light. Mr. Vatsal Liliani, Director of Evertop Commodities. Mr. Shiv Dhanuka, Country Head of Sudhima International Private Limited, Myanmar. I would like to welcome you all. May I now start the discussion by asking Uso Winmong. Uso Winmong, you have spent a large amount of time developing agriculture in Myanmar. Scientific advances have made many things possible. What, in your opinion, is the way forward so that Myanmar pulses trade does not have to depend on few destinations and can thrive irrespective of any changes?
You see, export to the international markets. So the first idea is I would like to make sure for the way forward, what is the suitable crop for our country. This is the first one. And another measure we would like to take is about, you see, as you in your question, you mentioned about we are depending on one or two markets mainly. But the situation we would like to change. We would like to expand our market. So in that case, the way forward, we should follow the measure to expand our market. Market diversification, we should try to reach to other markets, international markets. Currently, we are exporting more than 60 countries. I think altogether in the world, more than 100 countries are growing peas and beans. But for case of Myanmar, we grow peas and beans, but at the same time, we have to import some insufficient peas and beans like that happen. So we should look into the other potential market we can find out. This is another way I would like to suggest. And at the same time, when we talk the product, currently we exporting only about the raw materials. Our designer is how we can improve the value of our export. In that case, one mean is that we can make value addition to our raw materials. But we may face some problem like how we can make our processing sector develop, or how we can find out the preference of the consumers in buying countries, something like that we may need to explore. But we would like to make our product more diversified. That is the one point I would like to make. And another thing is when you want to compete in the international market, I think we shall follow the motto like that, food safety, food quality, such kind of things are very important. Our country products currently, we may have not much problem, but I think some cases we heard a lot about some residue problems or other specification. This year quality is not so good. our grain size are becoming small and small. Like that, we had some news like this. So in that case, we like to make sure our products are in good quality, and also at the same time, it is this, we strictly follow the safety standards of our product. So there is the one point I would like to make. And another thing is when you make your business in exporting agricultural products, in that case, I think one way or another, you have to uh, uh, take measures on competitiveness. For example, in terms of price, currently our product we are exporting, but not so much attractive for our growers. Or current situation, most of the exporters, they may not have no expected price they are not getting or something like that. So in that case, what I feel is we shall improve our competitiveness, particularly in terms of cost. Currently, our cost of production is higher than other countries. Thank you for your attention.
Also in Mong, I think very valid point you have mentioned, like, food safety, quality, cost of production, competitiveness. I think, yes, definitely it will go a long way if these things are improved upon. Thank you. I'll go next to Mr. Vatsal Lilyani. Vatsal, you have been here for a long time, and you're a veteran here. So, there are over 100 dal mills in Myanmar, but most are not profitable. Why is that, and what can perhaps change their fortunes?
Very interesting question. I mean, if you look at the ecosystem in India and compare that to Myanmar, I think the biggest difference is in the scale. India has got a huge population, 1 billion plus people. Most of them are vegetarians. And most of the dal mills that produce, they produce for the home market. They're not dependent on exports. Whereas in Myanmar, dals is not a staple food. It's not consumed here on a daily basis like what we do in India. So when a dal mill produces, they're mainly producing for the export market. And a typical dal mill in India would produce about 7 to 10 containers a day. Whereas in Myanmar, your typical production is 1 container every second day. So when you have such economies of scale in India, it becomes easier for people, for the dal millers, to install machineries like Sortex machines, which in Myanmar becomes a little difficult because you don't have that scale. The second important reason is sunshine. A lot of dal mills in India, about 80% of them, do not use dryers. They're mostly located in the hinterland, and they have plenty of sunshine over there. The weather is also dry. Whereas in Myanmar, most of the dal mills are located in Rangoon. 6 months of the year, we have rains out here. The air is also moist. So we don't have an option but to use dryers. Now, the quality of the dal is distinctly different when you're using sunshine, because the sunshine percolates right till the inner core of the dal and dries it. Whereas in the dryers, the drying is very superficial. Thirdly, a very important reason is that in India, dal milling is a hereditary, it comes down from grandfather to father to son. Now, if you look at the present generation, if a guy is 21, he's armed with an MBA, and probably from the 8th standard onwards, he's been going to his father's factory, and most of them are located in the same vicinity as the house. So if he's got a vacation, in the summer, he would go to the factory and listen to what his father has to say in terms of instructing the supervisor as to how to get the best quality. And when you've done that over a few summer vacations, by the time you're 21, you pretty well know as to how dal milling is to be done. They're all very suave, sophisticated. They know how to reach out to the Western markets. So they have a good mix of both the old and the new. And I think that is a huge plus that the Indian dal millers have. Lastly, if you see, most of the dal mills in India are based near the growing areas. If you look at the centers like Jalgaon, Wakola, Virudnagar, that is where all the raw materials are grown. And the distance is only about, say, 10 or 15 kilometers from the mandis. So you're transporting the raw material a much shorter distance. Whereas in Myanmar, what happens is, because the dal mills are located in Rangoon, and the material has to come in from Mandalay or Monjo or Sagaing. And if you look at an outturn of 75%, you're transporting 25% of the raw material over a distance of 700 to 800 kilometers, paying that cost and not getting any value for it. So that in itself is a big difference. So these are the basic differences between India and Myanmar in terms of the ecosystem, and India scores in that. And yes, one more point. If you look at Jalgaon, you probably have about 100 dal mills over there. And there's a huge amount of supply of skilled labor. So even if one person was to leave, you can bring in another one of equivalent skill pretty easily. Whereas in Myanmar, if you lose one guy, because you don't have so many good dal mills around, you're dependent on that same person coming back to you. Also, when you train somebody in Myanmar, whilst he is training, if he's not sort of good with the quality, you have to pay that cost in terms of the poor outcome of quality. Whereas in India, you don't have that problem. The guy who replaces the person who is left is as good, if not better, than the earlier one, and you don't have that sort of an education cost to be paid. So these are the basic differences, and I think the way around it for Myanmar is to shrink the number of dal mills from, say, 100 to just 5 or 7, give them that scale, try and locate them in the hinterland if possible, so you don't have to transport raw materials a huge distance, and maybe that should be the way to go forward. Thank you.
Vatsal, I think for your valuable inputs, very important points you have stated, like economies of scale, local consumption, skilled labor. I think yes, and other points which you have mentioned. I think all of these are quite crucial, and I think any new entrant into this area should look into all this area, into all these points, before taking a decision as to and ensure that they are competitive. Thank you, Vatsal, for your comments. I will go now to the DG. Firstly, thanks for your presence here and being available for this session. We want to know what are the steps being taken by the government, including framing of policies and scheme to give a boost to the agriculture sector, and how do you think will it facilitate Myanmar in enhancing its share in the global trade?
Thank you very much for your questions, and I would like to respond to some reasons. So the first of all, I would like to say thank you and very much appreciate us to invite you to me to this forum. Because of the Pakistan being is a very important crop for export earning for the Myanmar. So the Pakistan beans sector development is a very important for our GDP improvement. So that's why our Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock and Irrigation is mainly targeting the main vision is a food security, food safety, and nutritionness for the peoples. This is our main visions. So that's why when we need to consider into the protection. So in the previous governments are trying to approach to the protection-oriented system in Myanmar. But in these days, we are prioritizing to the quality-oriented production in Myanmar. So the quality is very important. So agriculture community, which is a produce from Myanmar, should be safer. So the name of the safer food from Myanmar is we need to announce to the world. So that is the main visions for our ministries. So that's why for the quality parts, we need to consider all of the stakeholders, not to the farmer side only. So the production is done by the government, and production is done by the farmer. The processing is done by the private sector, and then the communications, negotiations, and facilitation is done by the government. That is our main tripartite system in Myanmar. So I think maybe what, especially for our MAPE, is very easily to grow, and also not very much effort to manage to the cropping system in those areas. So that's why the farmer are only considering simple, easy, and cheap ways. So that's why the partisan bean is a very reliable and very suitable for them. So farmers are winning links to the partisan beans growing area. But other factors like a pest and disease controlling and also the fertilizer management, so they stay in the weak position in these days. So that's why what nowadays farmer doesn't recognize where is their market, what is their benefit after the harvesting, and also what is the utilizations of their products. So I means the utilization means that there is a for the cooking or for pounder or for bean sprouts or something like that. Farmer doesn't recognize that. According to the utilizations, farmer need to change their practice in the pre-harvest time or something like that. That is a very important to improving our quality weights. So, and also the private sector also only considering to the benefit, and they use the ad hoc trade. They are not very unstable, the market trading system or something like that. So that's why private sector also needs to consider the consistencies of their products, and also the ethic of the business, and also the agreement of the grower and also the trader. So that area is a state we need to improve. So that's why our government is considering to announce the SOP for country farming system in Myanmar. So we are a lot of discussing with the private sector and also the parliament member and farmer grower and farmer grower groups, and also our related ministries, and then we are announcing to the standard operating procedure for the country farming system in Myanmar. This is the way forward to improving our pulses and beans. This is not only for the country farming system, is not only for the pulses and beans. Every crop rotation area should be developed. But in this way, what we found the country farming system. The country farming system is an agreement between the private sector and also the farmer sector. So there, in those cases, the contract farming is only supporting to the negotiation with the prices and also the qualities, and also the supporting to the farmer for the production cost or something like that. So it is not very big enough in the pulses and beans area. So that's why, according to the contract farming SOP, we need to improve our farmer like a corporate farming system, because we need to collaborate with the farmer for how to produce the quality products, quality pulses and beans in those areas. We need to support to the technology, methodology, and then private sectors also needs to support to the seed protection area and also the other related the infrastructure improvement with the farmer. The corporate farming is a win-win situation by the farmer and private sector. So that system should be developed in the Myanmar. So that's why our SOP is announcing to the at the January 30 in the 2020s. So in this country farming SOP, the provision is 9 provision by the farmer, 11 provision by the private sector, and 9 provisions by the government. It is already announced that. But we need to improve that SOPs going to the regulations or law, something like that. So we need to improve that. Some dates we need to change to the SOPs, to the laws and regulations. And so that is a step by step what we need to improve our agriculture sector, because of the seed is very important, and also the management is also important, but the system is a very most important for our country. So system development is very important. So that's why the country farming in the Pakistan being is a very good for us. And due to the the country farming system, private sector also can get there so many achievement. And also the farmer can get there so many incomes or something like that. So that's why the win-win situation is a outcome of our country farming system. Thank you very much, Uba.
Thank you, sir. You've enumerated quite a number of points which are very crucial. Like, you have said, it's glad to hear that there is going to be a SOP for contract farming and also to make it more comprehensive, which will be, which will help the private and public sector to work together and develop the product, and also look into areas of how to educate the farmers, depending on the requirements of the market, and specialize accordingly. And then also the pre-harvest technology is also very crucial for them. So I think I would now like to go to Mr. Dhanuka. There is a lot of talk surrounding plant or pulse proteins. You don't need a country issuing import license to sell protein, and you can consume a big quantity of raw materials in the process. Do you think Myanmar is ready for such a leap?
Minglaba, I am Shiv Dhanuka, country head of Myanmar from Sudhima International Pte Limited. This is a very interesting subject. Plant-based protein now popular and it's more hygienic. People prefer it. Its importance is increased in COVID-19 period also. As Myanmar is the third biggest producer of pulses and beans, Myanmar should capitalize this opportunity and think about it. US, Canada, Australia, China, and others are already producing plant-based protein and are successful. We have to look over it. First, it's a total capital intensive and a lot of fund is required. Naturally, this round about 3,000 metric ton consume medium-sized factory need around about 7 to 8 million USD. So we have to look investors locally or foreign investors. And to invest the money, they need some incentives or some encouragement. That Myanmar government should provide some incentives and encouragement so they can ready to invest in this one. After that, technical know-how is more important. We have to search technical know-how for it, and we have to bring technical person to train the person here, and we have to bring the plant. Like US, Canada, Australia, all these, they are doing dry frustration plant that they are doing in yellow peas and lentil. Yellow peas, approximately they are getting 12 to 14% protein. And after after this one, they are getting starch also, fiber also, and others. So we have to think over it. And like pulses and beans, we don't have the lentil, we don't have the yellow peas. So whether we have to develop the crop of the yellow peas or lentils, otherwise we have to search for the two-roll. So two-roll we can use in this one, and we can get the protein. And but we are getting the problem to export the two-roll due to the quantitative restrictions and sometimes no permit. So it will be easy for us, and the farmers of the cultivation who do cultivation doing this one are also encouraged. So this is the thing that technical know-how we have to bring and to go ahead. After that, marketing. Marketing is also a crucial subject because this is a new item, and a specialized market we have to sell. Protein is in good demand all over the world. Like in developed countries, they are making mock meat from plant-based protein instead of soybean. So, and apart from that, there are so many applications. And after that, whatever the flowers will be the remain that they are making for the food wheat and the pet feed. Pet feed is also a big market in this world. So we can go for the pet feed also. This is good product and we can go ahead for it. We have to see all the three steps: first the investment, then the technical know-how, then the marketing. And apart from that, to sell the protein, we don't need any import license from any country, and we can sell easily to other country, and we can consume here also. So many food chains are also using this plant-based protein, like McDonald's and all, whatever the patties they are making with the mock meat. So they are making and getting the good profit. So this is the good thing, and we have to go ahead and think to start such type of venture. That's all, from my opinion.
Thanks, Mr. Dhanuka. I think yes, plant-based protein has become very popular now worldwide as a healthy food, and that's the reason we are getting to see a lot of companies getting into this plant-based protein. And as you rightly said, some of the factors that needs to be considered are like investments, technical know-how, a ready market, and how to sell the byproducts. Myanmar has got a wide range of pulses, so definitely there will be some scope for developing it, and I think it's the right time to start looking at it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mully.
I would like to now go to Dr. Chauvin. Dr. Chauvin, I think we know you're a regular exporter of different commodities, and you specialize in mung. So you have a good market in the ASEAN countries. But do you think that for Myanmar, the easier way to get a higher price is by introducing a better quality of seeds? And would it allow Myanmar to enter new high-end markets?
I think the better quality seeds definitely get the higher price. If we can produce better beans, better quality of beans, we can easily enter the new high-end market. But it is not easy because the green man bean compared to the other bean need more care during farming. We have tested China, Indian, and Australia seed in Myanmar, but local seeds are still more resistant in yeast to the local weather. Currently, we have 14 kinds of seed. Among them, only 5 are grown by farmers. The rest are not popular among farmers. Farmers choose the seed that are suitable to soil, weather, and climate. I believe government research on seed farming, private sector investment on the seed farming, and importing of the high-quality seed are needed for farmers to get high-quality seed. When we speaking about the high-end market, we should consider what exactly is the high-end market. I believe high-quality seed alone will not allow Myanmar to enter the high-end market. We should also consider about the high-quality process and system in place. What are the traceability, uses of the specific fertilizers in pesticide, or whether it is GAP or GMP satisfied. So I believe not only the better quality of seed, but also high quality process in system will allow Myanmar to enter high-end market.
Thanks, Dr. Chauvin. Quite interesting. I think, yeah, it's important that along with having better seeds, you have to also ensure that the various other steps are also followed, including following the international standards. Also ensuring that the right kind of other support are given to the farmers to ensure that they have the necessary inputs. So thank you, Dr. Chauvin. I may now go back to Woo So Win Mong for the next question. How can Myanmar strengthen the value chain to be competitive in the global market?
Thank you for your question. It is a very interesting question, and we are always finding out how we can enhance our value chain, along the value chain, how we can improve. This is a very major concern of our stakeholders. When we take a look about the value chain, and I'm thinking about several ways how we can discuss this issue. So I write down several points, and the first point I think I choose to present is about the contract farming. DG, DOE also already talk about the, you see, contract farming SOP already. But in concern with our sector, peace and bean sectors of Myanmar, my opinion is when you think about the enhancement of the value chain, I think we need to modernize our sector. Particularly, I would like to emphasize on IDC, use of information and communication technology. If some areas, some region may be suitable for introduction of some system like agriculture 4.0, including like drone, use of drone, AI technology, such kind of things we would like to introduce. Currently, some applications are coming up. Even Department of Agriculture, they already developed for some application like in plant production or seed, such kind of case you can find out. And private sector also, we have several well-known applications are available. And now they are, you see, expanding their domains to the trading platform. For example, if a farmer needs inputs, they can order from the online. They would like to sell. In that case, they can contact the traders through by use of mobile technology. Such kind of things are happening in our country. So what I would like to suggest is to enhance, I think, use of ICT. It is very, very clearly you can see. But broadly speaking, what I would like to say is modernization of our farmers and all the stakeholders in the value chain. So that is the point I would like to make. And another thing is we would like to make improvement in the infrastructure. Particularly, the problem that we are facing is about the logistics, for example. Currently, when you are in periods of COVID times, in that case, we have some problems, particularly in logistics happening. So what I feel is we should have more infrastructure, including not only bridge, roads, and such kind of infrastructure. More than that, I would like to ask for, say, quality infrastructure like that also. And to do such kind of infrastructure, I think most of the stakeholders, they may have to make more investment in their respective fields. For example, farmers, they should have invest more, traders also, and other stakeholders along the value chain. They should also think about how they can improve their business by making more investment. To get the investment, I think finances may be becoming more is a problem for some farmers and some traders. So in that case, we are. I would like to suggest to government sectors, particularly, they should provide financial assistance to the value chain, and also legal, and we have some development framework. In that case, they should looking into the development of the value chain. And in addition, I think services provided by mostly by the government sector, like for example, for the traders, they may need phytosanitary certificate. For the farmers, they may need technology or smart agriculture or how we can improve the use of e-technology, such kind of things. I think the services mostly are concerned with the government sector, and at the same time, a service provider from the private sector. I think all should be working together for the development of the value chain, particularly for peace and beans sectors. So in summary, I would like to brief the point I made. The first one is the contract farming. The second point is the modernization. And the third one is the infrastructure. The fourth one is the investment. And the last one is the finance, legal support and services sectors to develop for the enhancement of the value chain. Okay, thank you. That is the point I would like to make here.
Thanks, Usomin Mong, I think, for highlighting some of the key areas that needs to be developed. Like as you said, digital technology is playing a huge role in the agri sector worldwide. So that will help the farmers to equip themselves with the current trends, what's happening, and how they can improve. I think it will go a long way for them to know the pattern that is being used by other farmers across the globe. And as you rightly said, also important in modernization of the sector, and also to ensure that the channel partners work together as a whole, and see that the sector is more vibrant. And lastly, it's also important that there is more financial support to the sector. I may now go to I'll go back to Vatsal. Vatsal, we have been talking about better seeds being made available, but how do other countries handle introduction of a new item and upgrade an existing one?
It's a very interesting question, Murli, as to how other countries do it. In most countries, it's a public-private partnership. Most of the research is conducted by universities. And the universities are funded by the government, the research sector. So if a farmer has a problem, say for instance, the last 2 years he's been having a pest and the crop is not able to resist it, or he is not able to get the right color. If you want chickpeas, you want a golden color, for instance, and he's not able to get it now. He goes to the research department of the university, explains what the problem is, and the research scientists would then, go on simplification of the gene and try and come up with a solution. They would give him some samples of the new strain that they've developed. The farmer would test it. If he's happy with it, then he would give it to a trading company, which would then in turn send it to the overseas market customers, whether the market is India, Bangladesh, or Nepal, or whatever it be. And the customers would then run that on their mill to test as to whether they're getting the right outturn or not. And once that is done, once everybody in the value chain is happy with the outcome of the new strain, then the research laboratory would probably make a grandparent stock of roughly about 4 or 5 metric tons, which is then multiplied into a parent stock of maybe 200 metric tons. And then that is then developed into a commercially viable, commercially produced certified seed. So this whole process takes a very long time. From the time that you actually say that you have a problem to the time that you find a solution and you're able to commercialize that solution may even take 5 years. But at some point in time, somewhere it has to begin. And, other countries have developed a model wherein the research is done by the universities. In Myanmar can follow the same model. Of course, every country does it differently, but there's something to, take away. I know for a fact that there is a country that said that, listen, there's only one country in the world that is producing black matte. Why don't we do the same thing? And they brought in some seeds. They distributed the seeds, after tweaking it to suit their weather and the soil conditions. And then the farmer said, listen, we are not able to get the right kind of yield. It doesn't make sense to us to grow this item. But they went through that process. So the point that I'm trying to make here is that there is an established pattern that has been followed in the West in terms of developing new strains. And maybe, this is something that we can try and replicate out here in Myanmar to speed up the whole process. Further, there is one more thing that we can look at. Say, for instance, in Myanmar, we are not growing a certain seed. And the trade houses come and say that, listen, this is an item that we can grow. It is grown in other parts of the world which have the same sort of moderate weather conditions. Maybe it should work in Myanmar. They give a sample to the research laboratory. The research laboratory, goes into whatever they have to do in terms of gene mapping. They come up with a sample that they think would work for Myanmar. They give it to the farmers see as to whether it makes sense for them. They give it to the trading companies. And if the trading companies are then happy with the product, then you can, start growing that product commercially, which also takes a long period of time. But the point that I'm trying to drive at is it's a partnership between the farmers, the research laboratories, which in turn basically is the government, and the trading houses. If you can get these three people on the same page, you can definitely get a new product or tweak an existing product to meet market demands and conditions. Thank you.
Thanks, Vatsal. I think it was, it was very, useful in the, especially for any country which is looking at developing the agri sector and also improving upon the current production. I think it will be useful for Myanmar to look at this model for using it here and see how they can tailor-made it for the Myanmar requirement. And as you rightly said, it's like it's something which could help Myanmar to diversify also. Thank you, Vatsal, for your valuable inputs. I would now like go back to the Director General, Mr. Eaton Tut. Sir, could you explain the current scenario of seed sector and what are the steps taken to strengthen it in Myanmar?
Thank you very much for your questions. I am very happy to respond to these issues. So I think maybe every of the today discussing point out that the quality issues, the protection issue, and also the other trade and research activities or something like that. So this is a very good for us. The one thing, so we need to consider the cost of protection is lower than the other, comparing with the other country. This is very right. So at that time, so many factors are influencing to the protection screen. So one thing is quality seed utilization is very important in these states. So how many percent of farmer, like especially for the pulses and beans farmer, can use the quality seed in these states in Myanmar? We need to analyze the stats. This is a very important. I think so maybe not more than 5% of the pulses and beans farmer doesn't use to the quality seeds and right seed or something like that. So what we found, this problem is who is a producer of the seeds? So most of the pulses and beans seed growing are done by the government in these states. The government cannot facilitate all of the things because of the government land area is limited, human resource is also limited, and also the budget also stay limited. So that is one thing we need to improve. So that's why the governments are considering the seed sector should be transferred to the private sector. So that's why we are already announced our seed laws and regulations already. So according to that seed laws, that law is a favor to the private sector investments in the seed sector. So there are two things. One is certifications, priority certifications, and also the license, seed license and seed license, two things. So that's why someone's getting the holder of the license can be done the importing from the outside and also the producing in the country, distribution in the country, and also the storage. And also re-exporting also, they can then, according to our seed laws. So that's why the local investors should be considered. So how to invest the seed sectors. So, and also we need to consider the who private sector from the foreign or outside can be invested in Myanmar for the seed sector developments. This is very important. What is the limitations? What is the difficulty for them? We need to reduce our rules and regulations and also the guidelines or something like that. This is if there is some problem or limitation, we need to lift it, everything. So this is one thing we need to consider. So that's why when we looking back to the production area, the seed sector is not insufficient for the partisan beans. I think so maybe in this day, most of the governments decision makers are considering to supporting to the seed production for the rights. So in this day, this is my opinion is we need to change to the rights to other crop like a partisan beans and YC crop should be emphasizing by the government. So that's why from this year, we are announcing Myanmar will be seed exporting country in the regions. So this is one thing we need to consider. So that's why we need to invite to the foreign investment. We need to encourage to the local investor, something like that. So that's why the corporate farming and collaborated farming with the government and private sector should be together to the seed sector. So I think so maybe according to the seed sector, so the relative issue is a quarantine procedures and also the breeder right or something like that. So that's why the government already announced the plant variety protection in Myanmar. It is the breeder can be registered that's variety which are using in the Myanmar. They have a right to getting the chance to ride. So that's why they need to register only. And also for the quarantine procedure. The quarantine is only to emphasize to the exporting to the outside. That quarantine procedure is needed by the buyer side, not to the Myanmar sides, mostly are. So that's why, for the exporting crop, buyer side requirement is needs to be followed. Our quarantine sites needs to be analyzed and testing and also the detecting to the procedures of the buyer needed. So that's why the private sector who involves to the trade, they need to follow, they need to recognize what is the buyer country needs in the quarantine issues. This is very important. This is not our needs. This is our buyer country needs. So that is very important. So that's why in the quarantine procedure, most of all of the trader needs to follow their quarantine procedure. So our government side is providing our procedure as quick as we can. So that is very important. So that's why we need to improve our staff. We need to improve our facilities to fastest to detecting to the quarantine procedure and quarantine guideline. So that's why we are improving to the seed sector. Three things. One thing is laws and regulation improvement, and also the plant variety protection laws are already announced there, and also the quarantine procedure should be improved, will be improved to the smooth trade, for the smooth trade. So that's why online registrations is already started. We will make some platform meetings or the private sector in the next weeks. So and then the online registrations on the seeds and online registrations, the fertilizer is firstly we would like to provide. Every private sector, every person can be registered through the online, not to the documents, document registration. So that is our ways change to the ICT technology or something like that. And also the for the seed setter considerations, the by the same being seed is a differ from other crop because of this is a protein source, fat source. The storage facility is a very important for the seeds. So that is a one thing we need to consider. The facilitation like a cold chain system and also the improvement of the storage and warehouse facilities should be improved by the our seed grower associations. So that's why, according to, I will sit back again to the contract farming system. So the contract farming system also should be practiced in the seed production. So private sector and the seed grower farmer needs to make a contract. So this is a one thing that we need to improve. So and another one thing for the getting the safer food, we already announced to the GEP protocols. So some of the private sector and some of the INGOs are the Myanmar GEP is not in line with the world market. The global GEP is a very good for the global market or something like that. So global GEP is a very important. We recognize that, but our farmer doesn't follow that global GEP procedure. And also the inspecting fee or inspecting charges, who will be provided to the farmer? This is still we need the insufficient conditions. So that's why the Myanmar GEP is in line with our ASEAN GEP. That is approved by our ASEANs. So that's why the Myanmar GEP is somewhat supposed to our safer food and good products by the farmer. So that's why even in for example, in the green gram in the Yangon area, the EU market is buying from our Mambing in those areas. So that's why the GEP practice are trainings to the farmer. So, but in the next step, their requirement is not only for the GEP, they are free from the eco lines. So the sanitation program also needs to improve. So that is also important. So the government cannot be trained to the farmer. The private sector and government should be together and train and provide to the farmer what they need. This is very important. So that's why Mr. Basel also pointed out that so PPP system is very important in those areas. So, and also our government, our Ministry of Agriculture and Irrigation, Livestock and Irrigation also announced to our Agriculture Development Strategy, ADS. The ADS, in the ADS, we already mentioned the private sector can be collaborate in the research area. The research area is not only our university, not only our research department. The private sector also needs to combine to the research activities. So that's why the research activity for every crop community can be done by the private sector. So that's why the government and private sector needs to be goes together to improve our farmer sites. So that is our ways forward in the next few years. So according to the seed sector, we have so many platform meetings in the seed grower, seed provider or something like that. In the meeting, we can discuss what is the limitation, what is the difficulties. The government can be changed, especially for our Department of Agriculture is mainly responsible to change, to release, or to lift into our restrict procedure or our guideline or something like that. We can change it. We are very flexible. So, but most of the private sector are doing the seed sector is for only importing procedures. So they don't want to try to the producing in the country. They don't want to try to the improvement of the variety in the country. So that's why we need to encourage to the private sector to introduction activities to producing activity in Myanmar. So that's why in the next few years, we are aiming that our country should be seed exporting country in the world. So that's why there are so many restrictions, so many limitations needs to be lifted, and also the other provisions of their imports like land, electricity, transportation, irrigation facility needs to be supported by the government. So thank you very much, Uba.
Thanks, sir. I think it was very interesting and very informative because of the. I mean, it's heartening to hear that there are so many measures being taken by the government, including emphasis on the seed law, on plant quarantine measures, also looking at the concerns of the investors and how to safeguard them, and or to see that from a importer you become a seed exporter. That is laudable, and we really hope that in the near future we get to that stage. So thank you, sir. Thank you for your time and your valuable inputs. I would now move to Dr. Chauvin. I think we are coming to the last question of the session, and we need to, due to short of paucity of time, we need to move on quickly. So, without taking much time, I'll go to the last question. Will it not be better to review the commodity specifications on a yearly basis, as we get to see constant variation in the crop on a regular basis? This would provide clarity to all the concerned parties.
Of course, it is a good idea to review the commodity specification on yearly basis. However, in my view, it is not practically possible. Every level, every department has its own limitation, like the manpower in the funding support. Specifically, autumn members, authorities from the Ministry of Commerce, authority from the Ministry of Agriculture, member of the Myanmar Pest and Bean Association, executive committee member from the All Local Community Exchange Center, the exporter, trader should attend the regular workshop to review commodity specification. Presently, review is pending for 6 years. I think even if we can review the commodity specification on 2 or 3 yearly basis, it will help the industry. I would like to mention there are some common situations during the bid price change. For example, if the price is going up from the farmer to the local collector, they want to give the inferior quality. If the the same situation from the local collector to the exporter to the buyer. Vice versa, if the price is going down, buyer want to reject. They showed a lot of the reason. So, in my opinion, it is very important for the certain level, including the relative ministry from the government side, to take the action on this specification. This will the whole industry to get to the next step. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chauvin. I think yes, it's important that we focus on reviewing this, because it's crucial for the exports as well as for the local trade. So I think sooner it's done, it's better. By the way, I'm sorry, I think I missed out one more speaker, and the last question goes to Mr. Dhanuka. You have been actively importing different agricultural commodities from Myanmar. In your concern, how does Myanmar fare compared to other origins? What are its strengths and weaknesses?
Yes, Mr. Murli, it's an interesting topic. We are importing from other country also, but from Myanmar, many products are better in many respects to export. Just first black mape. The black mape only available in the Myanmar. So we can export black mape from Myanmar only, and if we have to export other country, we don't have this one. After this, turol. So turol we have available, and we can import from the Africa also, but some buyers prefer lemon tur. After that, green mung bean. Green mung bean, there are so many varieties like sprouting, like small seeds, wakema. They are much preferable in many countries that we can get only from the Myanmar. And after that, big seeds like what is the Pedi Shiva is coming 4 mm and up. That is also likely in the Japan and other country. So that is available here. So this is a very useful and preferable item what we are exporting, and it helps in export. Other than beans, then yellow maize. Yellow maize also in preference in some country. They are giving some premium for the Myanmar product. In rice, rice also some varieties are there. So which one only available in Myanmar and much preferable in our international market. After this, second one, the biggest advantage what we are getting as Myanmar is in ASEAN country member and Myanmar is in LDC category. So many countries we are getting the benefit to export it. Like if we can take example of the gram hole. So if gram hole they will import from the Myanmar, they don't have to pay any duty. But if you import from the Russia for India or the this one Russia and Australia. Australia is the duty is 77%, Russia is the duty is 44%. So this is the biggest advantage, and we can get the better price compared to the Russia and this one Australia. After that, third one is the logistics. As the geographical condition and the situation of the Myanmar, many countries, what we are exporting from here, the freight, ocean freight is cheaper than other country like Chittagong, Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, and some parts of the China also. So in this respect, many other factors also we like to export from Myanmar, and that is comfortable from the other country. Apart from that, now we are getting some problems also, or we can say difficulties also, but we have to sort out to keep ourselves in international market strong than other country. First, regarding the quality. The quality of the seeds are not so much better as per the international standard. So we have to increase the quality of seeds in the green mung bean, in the other beans also, to keep ourselves in the international market strong. Second, costing of the farmers are high here, definitely high here compared to the other country, if you can say Australia or the US or any other country, because they are using cultivation through machinery. Here, I think they are using the machinery but less, and we have to form like some contract manufacturing or something like that, and irrigation system should be also modernized to get the better yield, so the costing of the farmers will come low and we can stand in the international market. Third, like whatever the country far from here, that we have to pay more logistics for it. Specification of the product. Many specification of our pulses and beans product are not revised. So we cannot stand in the international market. If any new person will come and to export the product as per the specification, it is very difficult. We know each and everything, so we can adjust ourselves accordingly. So specification should be revised within 2 years or 3 years, something like that, according to the standard of the international market and according to the availability of the Myanmar local market. After that, some problems we are getting due to the fluctuation of the currency. Currency rate are fluctuating many times too high. In other country, if we compare, maybe 2-3% fluctuation is okay, but many times in Myanmar it fluctuates 10 times also. So 10%, 10%. So 10% fluctuation affect the exports. At that time we have to suffer and we have to wait for the further opportunity. After that, one more thing I want to say, in Myanmar, whatever we are exporting, pulses and beans, we have to pay payment as 100% TT. 99% we have to pay. This is the procedure going on from so many years. But in other country, 99% we are paying LC or DP system, no advance payment system. This should be revised or can look into it to make the export easier and more, and it will increase the exports and simultaneously increase the export earning of the Myanmar. Thank you. That's all as per my.
Very important. Some of the points which you have enumerated. I think yes, we will. Myanmar will have to look at new markets along with building up on the current market, and also ensure that the exporters and importers work together closely and make it more business friendly, so that it could it could help to boost the trade. So with that, we have come to the end of the session. Thank you to an amazing panel. It's been very informative. I hope everyone has appreciated your inputs and time as much as I did.